Hey guys, welcome to the Clubhouse. I'm Billy Jackson, and today's review is going to be on Bird Box. It was okay. I have to say that it wasn't great and spectacular, but it wasn't terrible and horrific. It felt like to me that it was a movie that was made just because Quiet Place was successful. It's the same premise. There's creatures out there, and A Quiet Place, you can't speak or make a noise, and in this movie, you can't look at the creatures. You can't even look at the world. Your eyes must be covered at all times. And I found that intriguing. I love the premise in A Quiet Place, and I know a lot of people are trying to compare this movie to A Quiet Place, but there really isn't any comparison. I mean, A Quiet Place is one of the best movies of 2018. Brilliantly made. And this movie isn't terribly made, but I didn't like the acting. I know Sandra Bullock is an A-list actress. She's a great actor. Performer altogether. But I felt like she was overacting in this movie. That's just my opinion. A lot of people are saying that they love her performance in this movie, but to me, it's one of the worst performances of Sandra Bullock's career. It's not terrible, but it's just not good. She never grasped me. It just felt like she was overacting to me. John Malkovich, I loved his character in this movie. He was good in it. I just felt like it was just pieced together and didn't really know what kind of movie it wanted to be. Did it want to be A Quiet Place, or did it want to be something else? Did it want to be on the river, or did it want to explain what happened 5 years before? And that was another thing about the movie, that I do like the whole, jumping back and forth, explaining kind of what happened to you while you're watching what's happening now. I love that kind of premise in movies, and it worked well in this movie. The only thing I didn't like is how they jumped from, this is happening 5 years ago to this is what's happening now, and that transition right there, it's like, well, what happened in the whole 5 years? You're showing us 5 years ago what happened in those few days or weeks or whatever, but then you jump to now again. So what happened in those 5 years? A lot of stuff would happen. So to me, it just felt like it just edited it just really quick on that note. So I was just left like, well, this is a whole story about what happened, in those few days before what's happening right now in these few 2 days. But anyway, that was just something that, it's a nitpick. It's a very small nitpick. I do like the fact that they didn't show the creatures in the movie. Oh, spoiler alert. Sorry, but they don't show the creatures. They just show that what you're seeing makes you kill yourself, which is kind of a Happening kind of vibe. And I hate The Happening. So, and this movie gave me that feeling from that movie. So maybe that's why I'm having a little trepidation about loving this movie, is because I hated that one so much, because it's almost the same kind of premise. But I do believe in the fact that less is more. So whenever the creatures were around, not seeing them gave me a lot more tension and suspense. So I did like that. So I love that part of the movie. But there's so many things that, and it's too long. It's 2 hours long. I felt like this movie could have been condensed. A good hour and a half is all you needed for this movie. But I felt some of the scenes kind of dragged along to where I was kind of bored for a minute, and like, oh, okay, well, now I'm back into it. Okay, now I'm bored for a minute. Now I'm back into it. And I think if the performances were a little bit better, that I might have been into it in those moments that I felt bored. But I just felt like they just weren't giving their all in this movie as far as acting. And some of the writing, some of the jokes they try to make, none of them worked for me. They could have just taken out all those jokes, and I think it would have been a better movie for me. But I understand that's what studios want to do now. They just got to make everything funny and lighthearted. But if they would have made this a little bit more darker, some of the scenes in this movie are really intense and suspenseful. There's a scene on the rapids. I'm not going to spoil this movie for you, but there's a scene on the rapids that I was just literally like, oh my God, they're dead. They're dead. So I was really on the edge of my seat. And you know, when there's a part in the woods where they're running and the creatures are coming up behind them and shaking up the woods and stuff, I was terrified at that moment. I mean, I really liked that moment in the movie. But yeah, there are some great scenes, but yet there are scenes that aren't so great. And granted, this is just my opinion. I know a lot of people are loving on this movie, and there are some great moments in this movie. But for me, it just felt like there were a lot more not so great moments in this movie that made me kind of feel like, well, now I'm just watching it just so I can get to the end. You know, what's going to happen at the end. But that being said, I really don't want to. I can't give it such a high, great score. Like I do other movies that just blow my mind. This movie really just didn't blow my mind. It was something I've seen before. It was a premise I've seen before, and it just felt like it was made for like a TV movie. It didn't feel like. I'm glad that it didn't come out in the theaters and I had to go see it in the theater, because I really would have been disappointed if I had to spend $40 on watching this. At least I got to see it at home on Netflix for free. It's worth watching. I'll give you that. It's worth not paying anything and sitting at home and getting your own opinion for the movie, because I feel like, even though I didn't like it, I feel like you're going to love it. It's one of those movies that there's going to be a lot of people that like it and there's going to be a lot of people that don't. But honestly, my honest, true opinion that I give Bird Box, I give it a 6. Worth watching if you like these type movies, and I love these type movies, but the performances could have been a lot better and it could have been a lot shorter. So that's my opinion on it. But it's not all about me. It's about you as well. What did you think of Bird Box? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like my videos and subscribe to my channel. And as always, make yourself happy every day. And the only way to do that is to remember, the only thing stopping you is you stopping. Bam!